Welcome back, everybody. My last rapid fire video was kind of popular, so I thought I would try another one. This time, we'll remove the computer and direct our attention to lighting. You know, the things we use to get those pictures into the computer. More specifically, I thought I would run down 5 of my favorite lighting modifiers, the ones I use on the regular. Now, I'm gonna try and keep this short again, but I also want to give enough information to make this video worthwhile. So let's see how it goes. Okay, to get us going, I thought I would start by briefly showing the lights I use, since these are what I'm putting the modifiers on. And that same company also makes several of the modifiers we'll look at. This video isn't sponsored, by the way, and there are many different companies making really nice lights, as well as modifiers. But I've been using these Pro Photos for several years now, and I've been pleased with my results. So the first model that we'll look at is the B1, which is a battery-powered strobe, and it makes that super convenient. No cords to keep you tied down, and you basically just have complete freedom of movement with this light. The second model I'll show is the ProPhoto D2, and I'll supplement my kit with these when I know that I'll have access to power. Both of these do a great job, and like I said, I've been happy with both of these model lights and ProPhoto as a brand since I switched my kit over several years ago. So now that we got that out of the way, let's bring in some of my modifiers and we'll get this show on the road. Well, that worked out pretty well. All right, so first off, before I get started, let me mention that I will do my best to provide links to all these modifiers down below. And at the same time, I'm going to do my best to show some pictures, some examples using some of my pictures during this video as I run through these different modifiers to show or try to illustrate what these different modifiers do for me when I'm on set. That being said, let's get started. The first modifiers we'll talk about are just your basic reflectors. These are great for harsh lighting. You basically mount these, right on the light, so you've got a bare strobe here, and this helps focus and intensify that beam. So these are great for rims. I'll usually kind of place them, either you can do a cross lighting setup with them, or I like to kind of usually put them back behind my subject. And that kind of represents maybe like a stadium lighting, that type of thing, and gives you a nice rim along the edges. Along with these, I like to use these grids. They slide right on top of the ProPhoto lights. You can get these in different forms that will go. Actually, there's some reflectors that you can use, that larger grids will fit right in the front of those, do the same thing. So these different types of grids will help dial in, focus the light coming from the strobe with this reflector. And with these grids or without, you have the option to do it both ways. Color gels work great in these as well. So you can use the color gel by itself, or you can stack it on a grid and have it more dialed in to where you want the light and colored light to go. So real quickly, that kind of sums up these types of reflectors. These are great tools, great for even outdoors when you basically have maybe one light and want to concentrate that one light. These will help you combat the sun, even with lower powered strobes. Modifier number 2, we're gonna go with Beauty Dish. Now, back in the day, this is more of your standard kind of Beauty Dish, a hard, I think this is a 20-inch, 22-inch maybe, Beauty Dish. This is great for a studio setting. This is really hard though when you travel and you're on location. So a couple years ago, ProPhoto came out, and I think Westcott and some other brands have these as well. They came out with a collapsible beauty dish. So this works just like a softbox would. You assemble it virtually the same way. You need a different type of speed ring, of course. And then when it folds up, it's in a nice compact form factor and makes it really easy to travel with these. I like to use these mainly in the front of a model, so I can put one kind of right here, square on, so that gives you a nice light on the front, or you can stick it off to one side. It's easier to show with my hand, I think. So you can stick it off to one side, which will give you fall off on the other side of the face, which will lends itself to more of a dramatic type look. A very powerful modifier, and actually I've got like 3 of these, so when I'm in a setup and I want to do something not quite as harsh as these, I can mount these soft boxes in the back as well, and they will give me a softer type of rim for my subject, depending on what it is we're shooting. So you can see one large umbrella over my shoulder here, but I also like to use a smaller version. I think this is a 43-inch Westcott Apollo. It's a little bit deeper of an umbrella. It's got I wouldn't call it a highly reflective silver. It's kind of a matte finish, which makes it a little bit softer. This umbrella, I've got a couple of these, and these are great for kind of run and gun lights. When I'm only using one light, this would kind of usually be my go-to, depending on what the subject is, of course. But I also use these as fill lights. Sometimes I can, instead of using one of these, I can use 2 of these. If I'm going to replace one of these, I usually replace it with 2 of these, one on either side of me, and usually I'll stop down one side more than the other, so I get a little bit of a fall off on one side or the other. I also like to use these as overhead lights. I'll mount them to one of the booms that I showed in an earlier video and use this as an overhead light. And using an umbrella as an overhead light, it gives me more coverage, so I can work with moving subjects easier having this as an overhead light. And another just great all-around modifier. All right, so since we're on the subject of umbrellas, we'll go to the big one. Back here, I've got what is a 70-inch umbrella. This is a Westcott model as well. What this does is it kind of replaces what would be usually a large softbox or octobox. You can also get front diffusion material for these if you're working with a subject that you want to have softer light for. This is great for taller subjects as well. You got 70 inches of coverage, so even when I'm working with NBA players, this gives me the perfect light to put on one side, which I normally, if I'm using this, I'll use this as a fill behind my camera, or I'll put it on one or both sides of the model, and this will or athlete, and this will gives me a large enough coverage to cover from head to toe, even 7-foot centers on an NBA team. This works perfectly for that. And while we're on it, I'll show you, since I'm comparing this to like an octobox or softbox, let me show you how quick this is to set up, because it can be, if you have limited assistance on a set, an octobox can take quite a while to get put together. So this quickly, no pun intended, solves that problem. So you just pop it out, mount it on your strobe, and we're ready to go. Final modifier I'm going to show today is the strip box. Now, a strip box is exactly like the name says. It's a strip. And this version behind me is a ProPhoto 1x6. So it's a 6-foot box, which works well for tall models, tall athletes. And I like to use this one as a kind of a side rim light. And this gives more of a harsh or strong rim than large umbrella. It gives more of a wrapping light, so you won't have kind of that straight kind of harsh line as much as you will with this one, which I like. I like to kind of go against the symmetrical lighting of the same modifiers all the way around or on the sides of whoever I'm photographing. So this is a 6-foot version, like I said. I like to use the grids on these as well, which help to direct the light to the subject, and also that cuts back on camera flare and the lens. I've also got several other sizes. I've got two 4-foot ones. Here is a 1x3 version, same type thing, just a third of the length of this other one. This one I mainly use overhead when I have someone that's not going to be moving a lot. When someone's moving, I'll go to that 43-inch umbrella usually, or a larger softbox like you've seen in some of my football shots. Strip boxes. These are fantastic. They create, like I said, they create a nice edge light along the side of whoever you're photographing. That just about does it for this video. I hope I was able to kind of keep it clear and concise. And if you've learned something here or enjoyed the video, please give me that thumbs up down there. If you haven't subscribed and you're interested in this type of information, please click that subscribe button and the little bell next to it for notifications when I do post, since I don't think YouTube lets anybody know because I've only got a handful of followers on here. You can always follow me on social media or find me on social media at QuantsPhoto on Instagram and Twitter. Please stay safe and healthy out there, and I will do my best to be here in the next one.